What's up, guys? It's your boy Nomad here with another episode of Cult of Color. Welcome. Um, Glad all this shit still works. Let's see here. So we're doing something a little bit new this week. Well, I mean, it's new to me. Really cranking the quality on the stream here. Probably the most gnarliest stream I've ever done. So obviously we're doing 4K HDR, 60 frames per second. So make sure on your YouTube viewer you're watching this shit at maximum fucking quality. And second, we went from, what were we before? We were at 10 megabit nominal with 50 megabit peak VBR. Now we're at 150 megabit nominal with 500 megabit peak VBR. And it's still going. And fuck, you know what? I was just about to say that YouTube stopped bitching about my bit rate, and now it's bitching about my bit rate. Anyway, what's going on, guys? Today we're just gonna do some shit. We're gonna watch some videos. We're gonna play around a little bit. I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit about HDR for social media. Gonna give you guys some little secrets here on how you can grade HDR without an HDR monitor. And hopefully that will empower you guys to experiment a bit more on your own. So with that, let me turn the music off here and we'll start watching some videos. Yeah, so okay. Big shout out to Hexy FPV. He's sick with the plague, bubonic plague or something like, I don't remember what it might have been, SARS or smallpox, I think it was. Anyway, big shout out to him. He's not feeling well. We're going to be playing one of his videos tonight, and hope he gets better soon. Yeah, so hopefully he doesn't have to have both of his lungs removed and his blinker fluid changed. Yeah, so with that, let me pull up the first video here. Just, it was this one. Are you kidding me? Of course I want to use... What's wrong with you? Uh-oh. There we go. Now you can hear it.
Wow, so many cars.
Nice editing. Honda in the snow. There's a Scooby. And I miss my STI. Such a fun car.
Sky Capture Media. Octo Media. Alpha Media.
I think you showed me pieces of this, bro. That's a cool shot. We're flexing at 120 frames per second. I can dig it. Oh, that's cool. You see the drone chasing the car. like it was a lot of work, man. Oh, look at that. Picture in picture. Looks like somebody's imagining flying behind it. Time! That's the same dude that you were chasing the... I don't even know if it was the same run. The same dude of footage that I was... The footage I did. Of your footage that I graded and that I edited. I don't know if it's the same exact cut or the different lap or... I don't know. The snow all looks the same to me. Yeah. Yeah, man. Backups, 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 backups. I can't preach backups enough. Different run, same dude. I knew it was the same dude. I recognized the car, the number, the name, and everything. I wasn't sure if it was the same footage or not. It's tight, yo. It's tight. Did you add sound effects there for the speed ramping? Sounds like it did. Yeah, the sand does add a lot of nice contrast. It's kind of the only contrast you get besides the trees. And whatever, like, dog shit there is in the snow. So yeah, the whole point of me, oh, damn, dude, you're welcome. I'm honored. That's fucking awesome. Shut up, YouTube. So the whole point of me telling you that I cranked up the bit rate is that there's a non-zero chance that it shits the bed midstream. Sorry in advance. I'm doing the best I can, but I want to see how high quality I can make the stream. So we're doing super high bit rate. I've got the connection for it, so the connection and the encoder for it. It's just a matter of can YouTube keep up with my bullshit. Pretty tight, dude. Well done. Yeah, I'm glad that I was able to help you out with a real project. That's pretty cool. Awesome. Next up, everyone's favorite, Rob Groove, with another Corfu drifting edit. Lots of slow-mo in this one. I think I've seen this on another stream. This is the one that dropped, I think, on Saturday. That's a way to launch. Holy shit. He always chooses the best fucking music. God damn. That's just nasty. Ooh. Ooh. It goes really well with like this ultra slow-mo. I mean, as per the norm, right? The guy can edit like a motherfucker. Just the right amount of stabilization. I saw this video the other night on one of the streams. It was like this freestyle video, and I couldn't believe myself. I was like, you know, I actually had to like turn to my wife. And I was like, I look at this video and I think there's too much stabilization. Like it's overdone. I was like, I've never felt that way before. I felt like there are people who use it like sparingly, and then people who just don't use it and think it's some kind of badge of honor. But this is like chef's kiss. Just a little whiff. Oh man, that drone, the shot of the drone flying behind the car is fucking awesome. Going on right there. You got the smoke, you got the wires, you got the other drone, you got the other drone smoke. I'm guessing those aren't that heavy. Doesn't seem to represent much of a flight issue. I don't know, Rob, if you see this and see the playback on this. Yeah, I can tell that there's some frame generation happening in some locations. Smoke is really bad at giving that sort of shit away. It looks like optical flow with speed warp. It's really well done. Like, he picked the right math, but smoke obviously is gonna fuck it up. Dude, Rob, seriously, again, another fucking awesome video. Thank you so much for sharing, man. Let us carry on. Oh, so here's an older one of mine. I have two in the can today. One's funny. Well, they're both kind of funny. So this one is I used actual 3D depth map to generate a tilt shift focus blur on one of my flights in Montana, and it's pretty funny. Little miniature Montana there. He's so tiny. He's a wee little Montana. I'm expecting Amazon, and obviously I'm tethered to the computer. My wife's at work, so my dog is sitting at the window waiting for the Amazon person to come by so he can try to jump through the glass again. And I might have to immediately throw headphones and run over there and restrain him because he fucking hates Amazon. Yeah, there's deliberately some little rack focusing happening there. It's not just one specific length of focus distance. Definitely tricks the old brain. And, I'm so good at ending videos. And here's one where I felt like learn to do it right so you can use it wrong. I'm a big proponent of that concept. So you take the things that you learn here and learn how to abuse them, and it's fun.
3, 2, 1.
Do I look
if this looks like shit, it's supposed to. I should totally. You know what? I haven't posted this.
I just
on
want a
streams.
picture of a goddamn hot dog.
Just nothing but JPEG damage.
Welcome to the machine.
Do I look like I know what a JPEG is?
Hold on.
I just want a picture of a goddamn hot dog.
Okay,
is.
we're back. Pretty good timing. You notice every time you see Hank Hill, it gets worse and worse. And again, expert at ending my videos. So good timing with the dog. Had a video to be able to run off and check the thingy. So now we got another one from Bart. We saw one from him last week, I believe, and I enjoyed it very much. I anticipate enjoying this. If he disappoints me, then oh well. Just kidding, man. Bart also picks really interesting music. Maybe I'll start hiding Hank Hill in my videos. I'll just like I'll comp him in so it looks like he's standing behind a tree or something. Ooh, that's pretty. That looks like that's higher than 400 feet. Just saying. So, Bart, tell me about your camera settings here. It looks like, well, you've got static white balance, which is great. Did you use native white balance on the GoPro, or did you set it to like 5500, like daylight?
So you think that it's over? Your love is finally reached the end. Anytime you call, not a day.
Really trying not to sing, so damn it, Bart, making me show my age.
It's gonna take a little time to show them in your broken heart. Don't you even worry, pretty darling.
5.3K, 5500, 3060, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah, love is all around you. Love is knocking
People talk a little bit about ISO,
outside your door.
or ISO as some people call it. Oh, I see your mid-tone contrast there. See, this is what I like about the way you work with low light stuff, is despite the fact you just don't have a whole lot of light, it's not flat at all. I don't know if you can hear that, my dog's losing his shit right now. There's a lot of detail still, there's a lot of texture, there's like, everything seems to be roughly exposed the same, even though, so it's like, it's not just dark and then you see the sunset. Okay, yeah, man, let's talk ISO. We'll pin that up as the first topic tonight. Yeah. ISO definitely is. It's a little more complex than I think a lot of people understand. It can dramatically affect the way your image exposes, specifically the extreme highlights and extreme shadows. And there are some rules of thumb that are very common too. Really trying not to sing here. Yeah, we'll talk ISO once we're done with the video montage.
Video montage. Yeah.
That was lovely. Thank you, Bart. God damn it. Stop it. Stop it. Did it just start playing this stream? Jesus. Okay. Is that the Bart? Hi, Bart. That's probably not the Bart, is it? No, that's not the Bart. Actually, don't really know what you look like, dude. You're not really posting pictures of yourself. YouTube is definitely cheating me here. Stop it. Stop it. So doing an FPV one take here. Veterans Memorial Capitol. Jefferson City, Missouri. Los Estados Unidos. I hear the kid sound design. I like it. Do you have stabilization turned on in the camera? Or did you gyroflow this? So I'm still seeing a lot of spherical distortion, so I'm not sure it's been through gyroflow, or you just chose not to use lens distortion correction. I mean, it looks good, dude. Rocksteady. Yeah, don't use Rocksteady. There he is. Okay, pre-gyroflow. That makes sense. Yeah, this does seem a little... You're a little more tentative in your movements. God, that's fucking bold. Never mind. Maybe you just don't know any better. You haven't lost a drone yet, so... Aqua gaps are not for newbies, bro. No, I can definitely tell you seem a little bit more hesitant. And kind of calculating in your movements here, less haphazard, because you're building your skill still.
Hello.
Very cool. So, if I could give you some feedback on the sound design, I'll give you more of an example, just conceptually. when you watch a TV show or something like that, and let's say you got two people having a conversation at a kitchen table in a house. Okay, you're gonna have things like the air conditioner, maybe you're gonna have a clock ticking, but you're gonna have what's called room noise or room tone, and that's just like this super quiet murmur that goes the entire scene through. And it's just supposed to be something to cover the silence with something. And so room tone is actually very important for sound design for indoor shots. For outdoor shots, I typically, because we're flying around, I go with a little bit of wind noise, tiny bit of wind noise, or maybe some sort of ambient like whooshing. If you go back to some of mine, the closer one that I did, I always have something happening. It's never like just dead silent. Silence is your enemy when you're doing sound design. So more layers, the better. Some say less is more. It really depends on what you're doing. 2-inch Cinelog.
That's scary.
Thank you very much for sharing. And that concludes our vidges. So let's talk ISO, dude. Hit me with your ISO question. Let me see if I can find I want to find the thingy. Trying to find just the right graph here to illustrate this concept that I want to convey. All right, so that's probably better. This is okay, so I can close that bit there. There you are. Whoosh waves all week long. Curious if you have a sound file dump that you are willing to share. All of my sound effects are licensed. I get them from a number of places. I get them from Artlist and Motion Array. And I think that's it. No, I get some from Envato also. I have a number of those services. There's kind of all you can eat stock video and audio and template services. Pretty handy to have around. So hit me with your ASA question. Let me turn some music back on here. Speaking of not wanting silence. There we go. That should be more than quiet enough. You know, I had an Element sound or something sound, Epidemic sound. I had an Epidemic sound one subscription. Didn't like it. I did a trial for another one. Didn't like it. Did Artlist, and their search engine used to be a lot clunkier than it is now. Now I actually really like it. I can almost find music that I want. Yeah, I'm sure you do, bro. You seem to have that yar. But when, you know, I wouldn't pirate assets to use professionally, just FYI. No, I found the Artlist, they're able to kind of give me the music I'm looking for when you give them the right search terms. So maybe it's they don't have the best sound effects, I think. It sounds like a lot of their sound effects are geared more towards video games and not towards cinema. I know Resolve has their Foley pack that I have never actually used. I think I downloaded it, but I never installed it. It's supposed to come with Resolve. It's like 2 gigs of audio. I don't think anybody's ever gotten it to work right. It's been kind of a shit show when they did that shit. So, yeah. I mean, Hexy, I used to pirate everything, man. Back in the day when I was just starting out, I mean, I pirated all the Adobe products, the operating system I was using, you know, different software pieces for different things I needed, plugins, you know. And now it's easier and safer nowadays because ransomware's a thing. It wasn't back in my day. You know, it's easier and safer just to pay for it. And nowadays you're not having to do perpetual licensing and pay like $4,000 for something. You can get it on a subscription, which is a lot better. I mean, in the long term, it costs more money, but the idea is that you can start using it now to make money now, so you don't have to worry so much about that. So, and there's a lot more free stuff out there. Only use ISO 800 for night, 100 any other time. I noticed that my road surfaces always betray me by showing noise in them. So I should use a bit more ISO for low light. So, yeah, Adobe is hard to pirate. I haven't pirated shit in, I don't know, 6 years or something like that, so I don't even know what the scene is like anymore. So ISO. What is ISO? Well, back in the day in film, ISO was referred to as film speed, and what it indicated was how quickly the emulsion on the celluloid would expose to light, how fast it would change states as it was exposed to light. So if you had faster film, like ISO 800, you didn't have to have the shutter open as long. The downside of that being that you tend to have a lot more noise because the different the different little particles in the film, they don't react at exactly the same speed, and that's where the noise comes from. Now in digital, ISO could be simplistically ISO can be understood as electrical gain on the sensor. So it's kind of like you can compare it to like a stereo system, where if you have nothing playing on the stereo and you turn your volume all the way up, you hear the hiss. That hiss is exactly the same sort of thing that you're getting on your sensor. It's just it is the noise because the circuits are the gain is so high that you're just picking up all the little tiny variances that normally would fall well below the noise floor. But in the digital world, ISO plays a couple of roles. I mean, you want to obviously, the more heat you put into your sensor, the more sensor noise you get. Because the pixels will start exposing random bullshit when they get hot. That's why if you know anything about astrophotography or know any astrophotographers, they'll have specially modified cameras with Peltier coolers on them to cool the sensor, so they can leave the sensor open for a really long time without it overheating. And yeah, DaVinci licensing is the bestest. Low price or free with hardware, and just goes forever. Fancy. So it's a temperature thing, at least on CMOS sensors, but also if you look at the graph that's on the screen right now, a lot of the ISO values depend on how we're cutting up the number of stops above and below 18% gray. So 18% gray, it says 18%, but it's half of maximum brightness, half of maximum darkness. It's right in the middle, right? So in your case, you get 11 stops. Like this is for a Sony camera, okay? So don't but this sort of scaling it's similar, but it's not exactly the same between each manufacturer. I was trying to avoid bringing up the one for Blackmagic. This one is really detailed, but it's for a Sony camera. And the reason why there's two graphs here is the Sony camera has two different native ISOs. And what a native ISO is the ISO is the 0 dB gain for that sensor. When you say dB gain, you're talking more broadcasting, less photography, cinematography. So 0 dB, it's just usually for most sensors that only have a single native ISO, it's ISO 400. Blackmagic, Sony apparently does 500 and 2500, which is kind of weird. I'll get into that in a little bit, but you kind of select your ISO based on what you're trying to accomplish with your camera, what sort of scene you're trying to shoot, and some of the environmental factors as well. Temperature being one of them. Nowadays, cameras are pretty good at cooling themselves in hot weather or what have you. So it's not so much of an issue, especially for cinema cameras, or action cameras. We're not leaving the shutter open long at all, ever really. And even even GoPros and action cameras, they don't actually leave the sensor exposing the entire time. It's actually several individual exposures that are then slapped together, kind of squished together. It's sort of a fake motion blur, but it's good enough for government work. Gets the job done. So if we were to just pretend that GoPro had a native ISO of 500, and this applied to GoPro, right? If you were at ISO 100, you would have 11 stops of exposure. So you'd have a lot more detail, a lot more exposure information that you can put under 50% gray or 18% gray or 50% brightness, right? Or fucking 18 nits. You'd have a lot more exposure for the shadows than you would the highlights. So this depends on what you're trying to get to. Now, the GoPro is noisy. There's no getting around it. It's going to have noise in ISO 100 in the shadows. It has a high noise floor, but what it does also have is some built-in noise reduction, which is decent, which is on by default, so you don't need to mess with it. But also has a very uniform noise profile, so it's easy to mitigate in post, as long as you do your denoising prior to distortion correction, because you want your noise to be uniform. So in the case of your last flight, when you're using ISO 100 at night, you had a lot of extra exposure information for the roads, right? But your highlights, you only had 4 stops. Like, again, we're talking hypothetically here. We don't actually know what the GoPro graph would look like. But you had far less stops for your highlights. So the sunrise is going to be clipped very easily, despite being ISO 100 or 125. Now, if you set it to your native ISO, you get basically 2/3 shadows to 1/3 highlights, and you can have more stops of highlight if you kick up the ISO, right? So if you recall from last week, I played some of my more conventional cinema stuff where I was shooting at the sun and it wasn't clipped. Like, I had really close up on the sun. And I was actually shooting, I believe, at ISO 800. I think it might have been above that. Might have been above 1,000. I think it might have been 1250. For Blackmagic cameras, then the dual native ISOs, and basically it just means there's 2 gain modes. It's kind of like having 2 gears on a transmission, or like a 4x4, there's high and low. And so the dual native is ISO 400 on the low end and ISO 3200 on the high end. And what they're going to have is the same distribution of stops between shadows and highlights. So I was choosing a higher ISO to protect the highlights, to give me more detail on the highlights, despite the fact that I'm shooting something really bright. And so I would either have to stop down with an ND filter if I really cared about my shutter angle, or just really crank that shutter speed up to make sure that I expose properly. But once I get it exposed properly for the brightest part of my scene, I've got all these sweet steps of exposure information that's above middle gray that now gives me that additional detail, and you don't get so much banding. GoPros tend to be very shadow heavy. You can tell that by the way, if you look at the sun in any one of my GoPro grades, the sun is 3 colors total. and usually ends up circling back around in the middle. So, do you need to raise your ISO at night to, you know, it depends. Like, your shadows are going to have noise in them. It doesn't matter what ISO value you choose. You're going to get more noise in the highlights with higher ISO. But you're also going to distribute the available stops of dynamic range differently with different ISO values than you know. It changes the behavior of the sensor, is what I'm saying. It doesn't just make it expose faster, it makes it expose differently. Holy shit, I just used a whole bunch of words just to say that one fucking sentence. You see that there. Yeah, ISO 100, you're going to get really the cleanest shadows you're going to get. Especially when the majority of your scene is below middle gray. You want that exposure information down there. At the compromise that if you have that sunset there and you really try to push the colors, you're going to end up with serious banding in the sunset. But the majority of your scene was darker, you know, on the darker side of middle gray, so you definitely want to have the lower ISO. Yeah, Hexy, I have been screaming at GoPro to make kind of a cinema equivalent or a cinema GoPro, which Blackmagic sort of did accidentally with this guy. You can see how small this is. It's a little bit difficult to tell how small it is, so let me put this into scale for you. So here's my radio, okay? There's my camera with a lens on it. That makes any fucking difference whatsoever. Put this on my face. There's a camera with a lens. So it's really small. It's about 450 grams, I want to say, with the lens on there. Well, probably a little more with that with the battery. I forgot to weigh it with the battery. But the whole thing on my 5-inch was 1.2 kilos. I don't think I'm going to fly it on my 5-inch. But yeah, GoPro needs to up their game. I've been screaming at both Blackmagic and GoPro, like, do a cinema action camera or an action camera that can record ProRes RAW or Blackmagic RAW or something, and give us a decent sensor. You know, obviously we're like asking for fucking pink unicorns and shit. We're like, I want a camera that doesn't weigh any more than 150 grams with battery, that shoots 8K, 240 frames per second. It has to have a full frame sensor with interchangeable lenses and built-in ND filter, and 12-bit Blackmagic RAW to express fucking CF card. You know, the technology, I'm sure they would love to build shit like that. The technology is just not there yet, but it's getting close. Look how fucking small this thing is. Unbelievable. It does have a bug though, and I found that bug today. The gyro data lags about 50 milliseconds beyond the video. A 4-gram camera that shoots cinema. Yeah. So, grab a sip of water here. That's what I get for using so many words to say one sentence. So I've never seen a chart like this for GoPro. I don't think they've released anything for it. Honestly, GoPro doesn't give so much of a shit about color science, at least overtly, because their main bread and butter is athletes and action. You would think that they would be synonymous with things like, well, they'd be synonymous with FPV. Like, you'd think we would be a huge segment for them, but we're not that big. Yeah, we're not that big. Yeah, camera was $995. Lens was about, I think it was 500, 550 for that 6mm, which gives me the same field of view after stabilization that the GoPro gets. So it'll be sharper and more colorful. and Mobetta. So with actual native motion blur. I am much excited, but there's a lot of work still to be done. I printed out these bushings this morning. So I got these different sized bushings. They're basically just washers made out of TPU. And they're just gonna get sandwiched underneath the mounts that are bolted to the carbon fiber on my X8 to add a little bit of dampening, allow the mount to move a little bit. Because right now it's a hard mount. It's an aluminum mount bolted to the carbon fiber. And if I take a GoPro with a metal GoPro mount and put it on there, like I put, that's how the Insta360 screen got shattered. Was it just flew on that drone with a metal mount? Because it had the metal mount on the drone, but I used the integrated flippy outy thing, the magnetic flippy outy, the GoPro-ish mount that the Insta360 came with, and the vibration apparently was enough to, cause that screen to shatter. So I'm trying to do some mitigative steps, try to avoid shattering a lens. But yeah, we are too small of a base. I mean, unless your name is Johnny FPV or Vanover, GoPro doesn't really give a shit. The Bones was a tip of the hat. It was really good initiative, poor execution. I mean, I think we still have to get past the whole 2020 through 2023 chip shortage and the various chip shortages and all that horse shit before we can finally start seeing, the integrated processors being miniaturized even further. A lot of the power management components being made a lot smaller, more efficient. Plus, battery technology is very soon going to take a huge jump, which is going to be a great time to be a drone pilot when that happens, because you'll be able to charge your pack in like 30 seconds, and it'll be able to hold a shit ton of capacity. It won't explode, so you can draw as much current from it as you want, and we'll just have a lot of fun. Everything will be a lot better, safer, cheaper, and easier. You can rent that thing to me for the next rally race. How would I come up there and fly for you? So yeah, there's ISO in a nutshell. So let's dick around here. Yeah, okay. Let me figure something out. Did I want to do a new project? Yeah, let's do a new project. Why not?
Let's do a new project.
Let's take a hood rip. Let's take a pre-stabilized one so I don't have to screw with it. So let's talk about doing HDR grades for social media. And really for anything on the internet. Like, this is how you'd get away with doing it for the internet. If you... Yeah, I know you're not scared to push my drone to its limits. Well, Bart, it is in the respect that you want to try to avoid noise in camera. But if you're flying around on a really, really bright day, and it's like the sky is really bright, the sun's really bright, you can protect those highlights by increasing the ISO, is what I'm trying to say. If you don't have a whole lot of shadows to work with, you can crank the ISO up and protect those highlights, so you have more detail in the highlights than you do in the shadows. Otherwise, you're just wasting it, right? You're just kind of cramming your entire, your entire video into however many stops are above middle gray at ISO 100. So, I mean, I would experiment with it, right? It's a little difficult to do when you're trying to really adhere to that 180 degree shutter angle. It limits your ability to compensate with an ND filter. because unless you have a variable ND or like a shit ton of ND filters. But it definitely can get in the way. I usually have, when I do GP log on the GoPro 12, I have it's set to auto ISO, but the max ISO is 800 as opposed to 400, and then I have a 30-second transition time. So normally it takes 1 second for the GoPro to transition between light and dark scene, change exposure. On mine it takes 30 seconds. That means I have some areas that are going to be overexposed, some areas that are going to be underexposed. But there's usually enough dynamic range to account for it. And what you end up with is a shot that looks like it's static exposure, that the exposure isn't changing. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk HDR. I forgot how much fun working with this enormous UI is. Only dealing with one clip. Actually, I should have. Oh wait, I probably already did that, did I? Yeah. Okay. So we got daylight here. I know my neighborhood pretty well. I don't believe I used a chart, so we're gonna pull white balance from my neighbor's house. Oh, you know what? This looks like extra ass because you guys can't see my grading monitor. So we're gonna switch this over to. Actually, you know what? We're doing this HDR. So we're gonna set this to HDR HLG. This is key. If you don't have an HDR monitor hooked up to a DeckLink monitor card, and you want to do HDR, you're gonna want to do HLG. And then mastering is for 1,000 nits, so on and so forth. Here's where the social media part comes in. We're actually going to use HDR 10 Plus and Dolby Vision, but not yet. And I'll show that to you guys in a little bit. So we'll just leave it there. Now we get like a normal display here. So something that's not too clipped out. Huh, okay, so I could, yeah, actually, let me see here. I have that horse shit open. Fucking. I could do this. There's my fucking mouse cursor. I don't know that I've got an app that makes my oh, there's Find My Mouse. I thought I had one that could mouse highlighter. Okay, there we go. Control Shift H. Did that work? Mouse highlighter? Wow. Let's find my mouse. Mouse highlighter. Fuck. Oh, it's gotta be a lot more pixels than that. I ain't seeing shit. So, Windows Shift H. Hey, there we go. Look at that. Click, click. All right, there we go. How's that? Now you can see where I click. Click, 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 click. Anyway, about to pull white balance from this horse shit. That doesn't look right. That's too cool. So he's obviously got something dirty on his house. I can't pull from the usual spot, or it's overexposed. Let me find someplace else. So I'm looking, since we're talking middle of the day, I'm looking for something that's known to be white, that is lit by the sun, that is not overexposed. White meaning anything with zero saturation. So it could be gray, anything above, I would say anything middle gray and above. Note that there's a house over here. It's usually overexposed in the daytime. This is kind of bluish, but that guy's got white trim on his. And we'll crank this. Just that's pretty good. It's good enough for government work. And I'll explain why I'm kind of doing good enough and not doing it perfect here a bit. So, okay. So we got that. We'll do our usual horse shit here. Got our white balance. I'm not going to do a split grade. Kind of avoiding doing anything too complex for this. So we selected HLG HDR, and we're just going to grade like normal, okay? Now my monitor is in HDR mode, but DaVinci Resolve does not show HDR in the built-in viewers, not on Windows. It does on Mac if you enable it, but it does not on the Windows. So you are seeing, I am seeing what you would be seeing essentially. Now you might notice, like, it looks a little weird, like a little muted, right? Like, especially cranking the contrast like that, I should have really gotten a lot of saturation out of it when I did that. So what the fuck? Well, there's a little trick to this. Come back to the edit page or whatever, and I'm gonna right click my footage, change the input color space, because by default it's Rec 709, but remember we're trying to expand it out. So yes, the color space is going to be the same, but we're going to go to HLG. We're going to choose Rec 709 HLG, Arib STDB 67, right? All that shit's just a standardized thing. And watch what happens to the image. Right, gets a little bit brighter. And it's a little less muted. This is super, although it's so weird how hard I have to crank on that contrast to get it down there. I'm not used to that. I'm sorry, man. I can only do so much. I can't clear sinuses. There's no right-click clear sinuses. I'm looking for it, bro. I'm not seeing it. I wish I could help you, bro. I'm sorry. So, yeah. Whatever fucking reason, that is super, super just chunky. So here's the thing that's getting me right now, is the scopes aren't matching what I'm seeing here. Because the scopes are showing things that are absolute black, and I'm not seeing things that are absolute black in this shot. I don't know, man. I just work here. It probably has something to do with display scaling or some shit. Anyway, let's continue. So, now that we've changed the input color space for the file, grade it like normal. Put my shit on the timeline and crank the contrast. Oh, that's funny. Okay. So yes. So now that we've set that shit up, just grade it like normal. I guess it doesn't. It's not acting normal right now. It's acting stupid. I must be missing something. HLG. I have to be missing something. I'm not this stupid. I don't know. It just looks off to me because I'm used to using my grading monitor, so it looks off to me. So yeah, there's our contrast, I guess. Add another node. We'll do some HSV saturation. So I'll change the color space of the node to HSV. Then we want the S in HSV, so go to channels, disable channel 1, disable channel 3s just so I have the S, and then I will brief on the gain until it looks how I want it to look. Yeah, give or take. Wow, that's a fuck ton. Okay. It's like the color wheels aren't doing as much as they normally do. It's super weird. That is super weird. Well, we want to deliver HDR and Rec 2020. We want to deliver a standard Rec 2020 hybrid log gamma HDR file. We're working with Rec 709 as a source input, and we also have automatic color management turned on. But we're going to tell Resolve that the Rec 709 file that we brought in is actually a Rec 709 HLG file, which fixes the gamma curve when you're editing it. Okay, so let's say I got my whole grade done, okay? What I could do right now is go straight over the Deliver tab, and we want an H.265. My M drive is called shit. HLG demo 1. All right, we do H.265 export, and we want to make sure that main 10 is selected. It has to be 10-bit or it won't even apply it, and then bitrate is whatever the hell you want, and then we just render that out, which may or may not take forever. It's not too bad. Full restart. Start over by playing all the videos again. So I can actually just hit stop here, play the resulting file. Where the... There it is. God, what are you doing? So, HLG demo. Alright, doesn't look terrible. It looks correct on my screen, except it's a little bit overexposed. It looks like what I configured in Resolve. Now here's a problem. Let's take a look at... Let's see if I can get to where the sun is. Come on. I had to have seen the fucking sun. Alright. Take a look at the sun right here. See how it's icy blue? It looks like ass. Okay, it does not look natural. Look at the clouds around it. Icy, icy blue. Right? Does not at all look... Motherfucker. Doesn't look natural, doesn't look good. This is because... hoping to see a free license. There is a free license at Resolve, bro. You just go download it. If you want to use GPU effects and some of the more, if you want to use GPU effects and the neural effects, then you need to buy the studio version. But there is a free license, a free version of DaVinci Resolve. So the paid version is called DaVinci Resolve Studio. Free version is called DaVinci Resolve. So I would highly recommend giving it a try. If you talk to some of your friends here on the Cult of Color Discord server, they might be able to help you out in setting yourself up to use Studio. Maybe, like, without having to pay. I'm just saying. Anyway, fucking this horse shit here. This is because my white balance wasn't perfect, and I'm being punished for it. HDR punishes white balance. If your white balance is not absolutely flawless, it's going to come out looking like this. Your highlights are going to be icy cold, or they're going to be super red, or like it's just going to be super stupid. And you can tell this color right here, this is the sun. This should be saturating to absolute white, but it's not. It's saturating like half a shade below the coronasphere, I guess, even though like the sun's only like this big in the sky, but like it's darker than the outside of where it's supposed to be the brightest. So this is another effect of HDR and shitty white balance. Your white balance has to be perfect. Now, let me show you how to cheat that system and say, fuck white balance. I'm going to do this how I want. Okay, so we're going to go back to the project settings, color management. I'm going to change this back to Rec 709. Regular old. So you can leave this as HDR, the color processing mode that just gives you color adjustment tools. It gives you DaVinci wide gamut as an intermediate color space, so you don't run out of colors. Okay, so now that I'm back in regular SDR world, I go back here and let's pull white balance again. Yeah, it's so overexposed. Looks like shit. Who graded this? This is garbage. Damn it. Come on. Alright, I'm going to turn these off real quick. I'm going to do this shit by eyeball. So you can eyeball white balance when you're working with SDR content. Change your scope to vector scope. Make sure that you have it set for 2x zoom. And turn your vector scope gain all the way up so you can see it. And make sure it's set to all. Now we're just looking at this gooey shit. This represents all the colors in your scene. Oh, also need to change this back to Rec 709 from HLG. So we just set that to project. Brings it down a little bit. So now I've got my little vector scope up here, and I'm just going to reset my white balance. And I'm going to take and start moving the temperature right here. Start moving that back and forth until the mass is centered. Okay, so if I look here, right, this is my mass, and I'm going to be centering it perpendicular to it. So we want it as centered as possible to the point that's in the middle of the vector scope. Now the tint, the tint scooches it side by side. So you can see where I'm going with this, right? You get that scored up. Then you crank your saturation, and if it looks fine, then you did it right. If it looks like ass, then we all died. So many skydiving videos look just like this, but like blown out and shit. Alright, so we'll turn these back on and unfuck these here in a second. So obviously when you're done, you want to go back to whatever scope you want to use over here. All right, that's fine. So these numbers don't mean anything anymore. We're not talking nits. Remember, we're SDR. So we can crank on these all we want and get them as deep as possible. We got some, we could probably drop the ass end out of this a little bit. Push the gain up. And then we can pull back on the fucking snaturation a little bit. All right, that looks pretty good. See it in action. So yeah, it's not a teabag. If we go to where the sun is here, sun looks as it should, right? Yes, it's overexposed. It's the fucking sun, of course it is. We're going to use that to our advantage. But you notice, like, around the edges here, it's not all fucked up. It doesn't look all icy. White is actually white. We're going to take advantage of that. So now I've got this SDR grade. Here's what I'm going to do. Head over to Deliver. I can essentially leave all this stuff the same. But I am going to say, I'm going to do like HDR intermediate. Or HLG intermediate, because we're working with HLG, so intermediate. And if I want to keep the maximum quality, I would set it as fucking QuickTime DNX HR, but for the sake of time and brevity, we're just going to do automatic best. 10-bit is still key. You want to keep 10-bit. You don't want to throw away any data. If you let this render to 8-bit, you just threw away a bunch of data. And when you try to convert it to HDR, it's going to look like effervescent shit stain. Okay, so from here, let me just go ahead and export. And hope I didn't fuck it up. So 4K at 50 frames per second while encoding 4K HDR 60 frames per second for a live stream. I like my computer. Get a little sippy sip here while this is chooching. Well, also, little pro tip here on the deliver page. If you come up here to the 3-dot menu and updates during render, if you turn them to minimal or off, your render will go faster. You won't be able to see every frame as it goes by. It'll do every 5th frame, I believe. But it will speed up your overall render. So just a little bro tip from the Nomad. Ha! Thanks, Bart. Yeah, like I'm looking at my encoder. I haven't dropped a single frame. Like the entire time I've been streaming, I haven't dropped a single frame. Probably starting to run out of GPU memory a little bit though. I can see it chugging. There's my fat ass, in case you ever wanted to know what I look like. Alright, so, now we got that file out. And that's like, great, Joe, you made an intermediate file. Fucking, what am I going to do with this? Oh, yeah, how do I speed up render time? So this little 3-dot menu up here, 3 dots, updates during renders. Set it to minimal or off. Minimal will, I think, give you every 5th frame. And off is obviously off. But not having to display every frame does 2 things. It reduces the amount of video memory that's required. So if you have a lot of effects that are already kind of pushing the limit, that'll give you a little bit more overhead. Oh, what in the fuck? Oh, that's why that's fucking chugging so hard. That's one of those 8K fucking 4x4 monstrosities, the original file. Anyway, I'm glad the stream looks good. Yeah, so reducing the amount of video memory, but also any extra GPU time needed to actually show the frame kind of goes away. So yeah, great. We have an STR grade. This is, you know, oh, okay, I guess I'll go fuck myself. It's good enough for government work. What do we do now? How do we do HDR? I want to post this to Instagram. I want to post this to YouTube in HDR. What do we do, Joe? What do I do? Okay, here's the magic. Here's why you don't need an HDR monitor to do an HDR grade for the internet. Okay? Big fat fucking asterisk on there. Because if any other colorists out there who are watching or browse upon me, I know what I'm doing is sacrilege. I know it's not. It's fine. It'll be fucking fine, okay? Just, it's okay. It's fine. It's okay. We're good. All right. So we did this SDR encode just like we would any other file, right? We got a fancy little timeline here. We're just going to go ahead and remove that completely. We're done with that. We've done our grade. Now I'm going to take that file that I just encoded, which if I wanted to maintain quality, it would be DNxHR, you know, 444 12-bit or some happy horse shit like that. Oh, thanks, Bart. I appreciate that, man. That's what I'm striving for. I'm trying to go complete fucking overkill on the stream. I mean, I've got 3 viewers right now. Calm down, color freaks. All right, so here's that intermediate file. I'll bring that bitch into Resolve, and I'm gonna right-click, change my input color space. Remember that trick we did before, and we couldn't nail the white balance? Well, we're gonna do it here. Switch that to HLG Rec 709. Throw that on the timeline, and we're gonna change this to HLG. Now here's where shit's gonna get interesting, okay? The way files are put together, you have your video stream, your audio stream, you have metadata streams, but your video streams themselves can have metadata within them, okay? And things like Instagram supports HDR video, but doesn't support just any HDR video. If you have an iPhone and you've ever, like, it shoots Dolby Vision out of the box, what does that even mean? Well, we're about to make that from scratch. And it is difficult, can be laborious, and I'm working on making it not so much. But basically, we're going to make a file that is going to be its best version of itself on any system, any kind of delivery platform. So I'm going to enable Dolby Vision, even though I don't have a Dolby Vision license. And I'm going to enable HDR10+, even though Samsung apparently screamed at Blackmagic, and Blackmagic has nerfed HDR10+. What is HDR10+? So HDR10 is like, it's static metadata for the file. It tells whatever's playing it back, like how bright in nits is the brightest thing, how dark in nits is the darkest thing in this entire video, right? HDR10 Plus does the same thing, but it's per frame. Dolby Vision does the same thing, but it's per frame and per scene. It's a lot more complex metadata. So, and we'll change the mastering display 1000 nit, BT 2020, D65 whites, ST 2084 full. Okay, we done that. All right, so this got a little darker. No big deal. We're not going to make any adjustments on it because we want it to look. Oh my god, dude. You've been on the 720p the whole time? Wow. 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 Yeah, I'm still chooching here. So we're not going to make any adjustments to this, but we do need to go over to the color page. So you notice now we've got 2 new little tabs here. Oh man, this, I know the person. There's one person. He is going to light me up for doing this. He already hates me. I'm not going to change any of the settings in here. I'm just going to hit analyze. And we're going to let it analyze. What we're doing is we're generating Dolby Vision metadata. Okay, now HDR10 Plus has been nerfed because of Samsung's request. So I can't actually do anything with this, but we can go to the color menu up at the top, go down to HDR10 Plus, analyze all shots, generate some HDR10 Plus metadata.
Yeah.
So it's important when you do this analyzing, this has to be done after you've made every single adjustment and edit and everything. It has to, like, the metadata has to match up to the frame count exactly. You don't want to change anything in the grade after you've done the analysis. Okay. Now, what I'll do over here, I'm going to right click on timeline, go to timelines, export, Dolby Vision XML. And I'm going to put that on my shit drive because that's where my fancy script is. We'll call this HLG demo. And it's asking me the XML version, the primaries and aspect ratio, leave all that to default, hit export. Takes no time at all. Right click timelines again, go to timelines, export, and HDR10 plus JSON. Now this is key here, and we'll go over it again, but I try to name everything exactly the same. So we're doing HLG demo, HLG-demo.json. Now this doesn't have to be like this. I wrote a script to make this easier. Okay, so now that we've got those out, we'll go to the deliver page, and we'll name this one HLG demo. Don't have to put an extension on there. Okay, so you see some extra shit here. Export HDR10, like embed metadata. Leave that shit untouched. Don't fuck with it. You want, maximum quality. 10-bit is a must. Don't fuck with these two. The 444 with H.265 does not work well. But 10-bit is an absolute must. And then you'll come down here in advanced settings. I'm just showing you. There's a tone mapping area here. There's these two. We're not going to select either of these. We're not doing any tone mapping. Okay, we're going to export the HLG file itself. So now that I've got all of that horse shit set up, add to render queue, render that bitch out. We're going to wait it out because I want to go through this whole thing with you guys. So special. So one of the things we have to do is we have to tear the MP4 file apart, take the video stream from that MP4 file, inject it with metadata for both HDR10 Plus and Dolby Vision. And then we have to wrap that back up into an MP4 that also has the same, the appropriate metadata so that it'll be registered appropriately in a player. So we're done with that. Okay, let me clean this up a little bit here. Blah. HLG demo 1. No, don't need that one anymore. Don't need that one anymore. Okay, so we don't need that one anymore. Bye. So I've got here's a script that I wrote called injector, and we've got our basic HLG export. And if I show media info on this, there is no metadata about the video format. All it's showing is that it's an HLG hybrid log gamma transfer, and the color primaries are Rec 2020. Not a whole lot there. This will play on pretty much everything, but it won't look its best because you're not telling the player how it's supposed to be played, and that's what we're going to do. So we need to generate a binary for Dolby Vision from this XML file, and then we're going to take that binary and inject it into the video stream. Then we're going to take this HDR10 Plus metadata, inject that into the video stream, wrap that up into an MP4 container that has the appropriate metadata for Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus. And the tool to do that actually comes from Dolby Labs. Only the source code. I had to actually build it myself. But I can provide that for you guys. So here, and this is where I'm going to lose everybody, I think. Got to open it up in terminal. Holy shit, this is huge. Oh, come on, man. Come on. Come on. You bastard. Okay, so I'm on my AM drive. And I've got my injector, so I'm going to run that script. Injector PS1. And we're just going to use, as an input, it's going to be the MP4 file that we exported. Now you can see immediately why it's important that they all have the same base name. So HLG-demo is the base name, because I don't want to have to like tell this script what these files are. I've written the script to assume that all the files are having the same base name. So when I hit enter here, it's going to blast through a bunch of shit. It's going to pull the audio out. It's generating the binary metadata for Dolby Vision, stripping the video out. Now it's injecting the metadata. Now there's the Dolby Vision metadata. You can see the extra files it's created. And it's muxing it together, and it's going to clean up after itself. Ta-da! So now, if you recall, when we looked at the media info for this MP4 file, it was bare bones, right? There was nothing in here other than the basic transfer function and the color space. If we look at this one, now we see Dolby Vision version 1.0. It's profile 8, which is important. It has a base layer plus an RPU, which is that binary metadata that we created and injected. HDR10 compatible, so it means it'll play on a non-Dolby Vision display as a regular HDR10 file. But then there's also the HDR10 Plus version, or metadata. So there's HDR10 Plus Profile A compatible. So it has the per frame metadata for HDR10 Plus. So it has both Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus. It doesn't get much more HDR than this. So that's how that's done. And also adds additional codec IDs up here for different players that need to see certain things. So if you open this on your phone, like if you copy this on your phone, on your iPhone, and you open it up in your camera roll and you hit the little info button, it'll say Dolby Vision instead of just HDR there. And this is how you get the shit to work on Instagram and now TikTok. And you can do the same thing for YouTube videos. If I upload this to YouTube, it's going to be HDR. Now, YouTube doesn't support Dolby Vision, but it does support HDR10 Plus. And that'll help make sure that your video looks how it's supposed to look. So if we run this, it should look exactly how we put it in there, right? It's not fucked up. It's not oversaturated. The sky shouldn't be burned. Let me try to get to that same part again. So it's not fantastic, but also this isn't HDR. This is a really bad capture because this doesn't play it in HDR on my machine. My monitor is in HDR mode. So this is an SDR tone map being played on an HDR monitor, being captured. And yeah, anyway, but you notice that there's no weird frosty color in the middle of the sun there. Even though our white balance was not perfect. So going through and kind of circling through an SDR grade first and then coming back to an HLG grade kind of short circuits that getting punished for your white balance sort of thing. The downside is you don't have as much control over the HDR grade itself in terms of like trying to define how bright something is physically on a monitor. For that, you have to do the grade in HDR with an HDR monitor, or you get really good at reading scopes. Like you should be able to read text in a scope. If there's text on screen, you should be able to see in the scope. Like you got to be that good with it. I'm not, so I don't. So that's, yeah. So a bit of a pain in the dick. I am still working on making it easier for the rest of the world to do it. It did take me quite a while to figure out how to do it without having to buy a Dolby Vision license. Hey, Kimmy, how you doing? Okay, bye. So yes, I will release the script when it is like properly robust. I think if I put it in people's hands right now, they're gonna break something or it's not going to do what it wants to do, what they want it to do, right? Because I designed it so it's like very narrow in its use case. But yeah, super fun times. Any other questions? Bart, Hexy, anybody else? Kimmy? Pain in the dick. Yes, ma'am. You know what, YouTube? Stop bitching about my bitrate, okay? Questions, comments, concerns, quips, queries, complaints? Yeah, that sucks, Kimmy. I get that way if I watch too much of other people's FPV videos. But I tend to be a fairly smooth pilot. And also, like, I can predict my own movements because I actually did the flight. Yeah, I'm sure questions will. You know, hit me up in the Discord as usual. If it's something simple, I'll answer it there. If it's something more complex, we'll save it for the next show, and we'll go from there. Jittery there, but only twice for the whole stream. I don't get paid enough. Yeah, isn't that everyone's story? I don't think anybody gets paid enough. Anywho, kids, yeah. Don't be shy about getting videos in for submission. I love playing people's videos. Don't have to critique them. I can just play them. We can just enjoy them. Rob, if you're watching, more please. Thank you. And Bart, if you're still watching, more please. Thank you. Car guy, you should get some fucking videos in there, dude. Come on, do it. I know you want to. I think I can turn that off now. Yeah, it turned off. Okay. Can we do a whole show on the O3 in the near future? We can do another show on the O3 in the near future, Mr. Hexy. I'd be happy to do that for you. I did one a while ago, but we can do it again. It's all good, man. Yeah, sorry to hear that, Kimmy. I hope the job search I see. Okay. Well, I hope it all gets sorted out soon. Anywho, yeah, hit me up on the Discord if you need anything. Otherwise, yeah. Love you guys. Keep your tits dry. Keep the shiny side up. Don't get captured. Fucking all the other things I say. What Streamlabs said. I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.